From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
We know the consumer wants higher levels of transparency. They want to know the entire story, all the way back to the farm.
Grocery shopping, no longer just heading to the store. Look at the growing online grocery industry.
Well, there's a lot of focus on farm machinery here at the National Farm Machinery Show, but what about land values? We'll check in with an ag lender to see how interest rates could impact land values in 2019.
Day 2 of another round of trade talks between the U.S. and China.
The vibe is good, you know, that's a couple of vibes, good, positive, very positive.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. China says it's expecting a mutually beneficial and win-win outcome in regards to trade talks between the U.S. and China wrapping up today in Beijing. Chinese Vice Premier Liu He met with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer yesterday. Bloomberg reporting little progress has been made so far, but White House Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow has a different take, saying the vibe is good.
Again, I've talked to the group. They're covering all the ground. They're hard at it. They are going to meet with President Xi, so that's a very good sign. And they're just soldiering on. So, you know, I like that story, and I will stay with the phrase, the vibe is good, but I can't give you details. I can't give you details.
The world's two largest economies are attempting to hammer out a deal ahead of a March 1st deadline and avoid another escalation of tariffs. That's when tariffs on $200 billion worth of imports from China are scheduled to rise to 25% from the current 10%. That's if the two sides don't reach a deal by Friday. Now, Bloomberg also reporting the president is considering pushing back that deadline by 60 days. New dollar figures are in when it comes to the trade war. The U.S. Census Bureau reporting $2.7 billion worth of tariff revenue was collected in November of last year. Now that's a big increase from the $375 million worth of tariffs collected in November of 2017. China's U.S. trade surplus eased to $27.3 billion. That's the lowest since May of 2018. Now imports fell 42% in part due to steep declines in soybean purchases. But some soybeans are going to China. New export data shows China imported 7.3 million metric tons of soybeans in January, and that's down 13% from last year. The buys were higher than expected and up 29% from December. Many of us are buying more things online and having them shipped straight to our doors. There's also a growing number of people skipping the grocery aisle for an online service. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon joins us from the newsroom. And Betsy, you have numbers to back that up.
Clinton, we talked with one analyst with Rabo Research who studies consumers and their buying habits when it comes to buying groceries online. So let's take a look here. 5% of the U.S. population buys groceries online, and that number is expected to increase to 20% in the next 6 to 7 years. Even though the numbers are small right now, how does buying online change purchasing decisions? Rabo Research analyst Roland Fumasi says there's unlimited amounts of space for information online, as folks are not just strolling the aisles.
So we know the consumer wants higher levels of transparency. They want to know the entire story, all the way back to the farm.
He says online retailers have a greater control on the types of products that you see on your screen.
You walk into a regular grocery store, into the produce aisle, for example, and there's hundreds and hundreds of products. They can guide you to the produce aisle by making it the first thing you see, but they can't make you focus in much deeper than that. In the online channel, they can make sure that you see exactly the products you see and the timing in which you see those products.
Fumasi says even though the numbers are increasing of consumers buying online, he says there will always be a need for a physical grocery store. Clinton?
All right, thanks, Betsy. California's plan for a bullet train between Los Angeles and San Francisco being scaled back. We've been keeping you updated on a project that was slated to go through acres of orchards and dairies. Now, during his first State of the State address, Governor Gavin Newsom announcing he was cutting back the $77 billion project. The idea was to create a high-speed rail network that would lead to less congestion on the freeways and cut suburban sprawl. The Democratic governor saying he supports finishing the line between Bakersfield and Merced. The Los Angeles Times reports the project is $44 billion over budget and 13 years behind schedule. The Climate Prediction Center is starting to roll out its spring forecast. It says weak El Nino conditions are currently present and should continue in the northern hemisphere through the spring. It's giving a 55% chance of that happening. Because it's a weak El Nino, the center doesn't expect major global impacts. And while portions of the country are digging out from snow and dealing with rain, some people are starting to plant. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman has more in today's Crop Comments. Mike.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, Plant 2019 is underway, at least in some areas. This picture shared on Twitter by Colin Capellas in Corpus Christi, Texas. Colin was excited to share that he was finally planting corn in southern Texas. He says he was just waiting for a couple of sunny days and for the field to dry out. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast, we have multiple storm systems moving across the country, so the Great Lakes northeast, parts of the west will start off windy today. That spreads into parts of West Texas as we head through the afternoon hours. Into the day tomorrow then, the winds let up across the Great Lakes. They come into the Four Corner region, and then it becomes windy across the southern plains, at least West Texas, as we head through the afternoon hours. We'll have more in your forecast coming up. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Grains aren't the only dynamic market in 2019. Up next, we'll take a look at hogs and expectations for prices there. And later, 4 months after Hurricane Michael, the destruction is still evident. The One Georgia cotton farmers looking to the future. That's ahead in the country. AgDay TV is now on Instagram. We've just posted pictures of the new look to our newsroom. We take you behind the scenes of AgDay TV, so check us out right there on Instagram.
AgDay, brought to you by Precision Planting, provider of practical and effective precision ag technologies to help make farmers smarter every season. Learn more at precisionplanting.com.
In agribusiness, major grains in the red Thursday, with soybeans seeing double-digit losses during the session. Let's see how things closed. For that, we head to the floor of the CME in Chicago.
We had very poor export sales that was released a little bit late due to the government shutdown, but nonetheless very disappointing. On top of that, we got news that U.S. and China trade talks have yet again stalled, so that isn't doing any favors to the buy side either. On top of that, kind of the cherry on top for the bears here, the U.S. dollar at 52-week highs, so that has the markets retreating across the board. Corn, soybeans, wheat. Cattle get a little bit of a bid here. There's some fundamental catalysts behind this, but I think a lot of this is more technical than anything. This has been Oliver Slope with Blue Line Futures from the floor of the CME.
Hog markets already dynamic in 2019. Tyne Morgan joins us now from the road with today's analysis. Tyne.
Here now with Alan Brugler of Brugler Marketing. Alan, looking at 2019, specifically with pork prices, demand for pork, demand for meat in 2018 was so good. Do you think demand can rival 2018 this year?
I think it's going to be a little challenging. The world economy in general was pretty good until the fourth quarter. We started to see GDP growth slow down in some of those countries. We're at the long end of an expansion here in the United States. We're not necessarily over yet, but we're also still expanding pork production.
So then when we look at 2019, kind of what's your forecast for prices if we're still expanding and demand's in question right now?
I think we're okay for the first 6 months or so, in that we've gotten an uptrend on the charts. In the low 50s should hold us even on corrections. We'd like to see those cutout values improve a little bit. Cash hog prices usually go up in the spring and then pull back a little, and then of course summer highs. But the cutout values are at 5 or 6 year lows. So we want to see a little more bacon demand. We want to see some resolution to some of these political issues, and then I think we, as a producer, we have to be careful about expanding any further here.
Do you think we'll see summer highs again, or do you think maybe we could hit those highs earlier than normal in the pork?
Could definitely be earlier than normal, but remember, normal is anywhere from May to August, so it just may be May instead of August.
What if we get the trade issues worked out with China? What if they come to the market for U.S. pork, since we do not have ASF in the U.S.? I mean, could that totally change the game with pork prices?
That does change the game. Chinese sow numbers are down about 8% at year end, so that's creating a hole there in terms of their production. They're trying to encourage the producers to expand again, but we also know that they're reluctant to do so because of movement restrictions. So what's the answer? Bring in cheap U.S. pork. What we need, of course, is that trade deal by March 1.
Right, yeah, that's kind of the barrier right now. All right, Alan, thank you so much. We need to take a quick break and then we'll have much more right here on Ag Day.
To talk to Alan about his ag market professional services, call Brugler Marketing and Management at 402-697-3623 or visit his website, www.bruglermarketing.com. You could win a 2019 John Deere Gator. No purchase necessary. Visit ValentFullyLoaded.com for details and official rules.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Your meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at the drought monitor. And Mike, this is strikingly different than what we've seen in previous years.
Yes, and it's changed over the last 4 weeks, but I mean, just look at the lack of drought across the lower 48. In fact, even these areas have been improving over the past 4 weeks. Let's go back 4 weeks. Look at how much more dark red there was in the Four Corner region, how much more red in Oregon, and how much more orange in California. Now we go through the past 4 weeks, and you can see each week we have been improving things just a little bit in those areas. And there was 2 weeks ago, there's 1 week ago, and we improve it even more just over the past week. So kind of an amazing situation when you think about it. There are some wet areas, obviously, east of the Rockies that we'll have to perhaps deal with as we head into the spring. But once things warm up, if we don't get any more heavy rains, then we can deal with that. There's multiple storm systems from west to east, one over the Great Lakes, one over Wyoming, another one off the west coast, putting things into motion. You can see this one diving across the plain states, going to leave a strip of snow from southwestern Dakota, South Dakota, all the way into parts of the central Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley over the next 12 hours or so. System out west, lots of snow in the mountains and even in some of the lower elevations. This has been kind of amazing in the Pacific Northwest for some of that snow as well. And this is going to continue to be kind of a nasty situation for some of those areas. You can see as we head into the first part of the day tomorrow on Saturday, as we start the weekend, a little bit of snow in the nation's capital. It's mainly rain south of there. And you can see kind of multiple systems as that second system just kind of sitting there in the Pacific Northwest will continue to produce some moisture. High pressure, though, builds in by later in the day tomorrow, most of the east. There's a precipitation estimate past 24 hours, some in the Great Lakes, a lot of it out west, adding in the next 36. We're going to add that strip of moisture, like I said, right down through the middle of the country and into the east coast, and we'll add more out west. Snowfall will continue to add it, especially higher elevations out west, but then there's that strip of snow from Nebraska all the way into the Ohio River Valley over the next 36 hours. High temperatures today, boy, single digits and teens in the far north, still 70s along the Gulf Coast. Cold air continues to press southward, but it's not going to quite make it to the Gulf Coast as we head through the day tomorrow. Still highs in the single digits and teens by the time you get into the far northern plains. And here's the jet stream. There's that one storm system. Second one kind of coming across the country there as we head through the weekend. Third one trying to come east. It's kind of interesting. This could be a stormy pattern from Texas into the Great Lakes as we head through the second half of next week. We'll have to watch that. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Pocatello, Idaho today, cloudy, periods of snow, high of 37. Taking a look at Pine Bluff, Arkansas, cloudy and cooler with some showers around, high 55. And Petersburg, Virginia, mostly cloudy and mild. The afternoon high around 68 degrees.
And I'm sure farmers haven't forgotten these commercials from the Super Bowl at Ruffled Feathers for corn growers. And Coors Light has made a point to offer their support. In fact, today, Coors Light is holding a toast to farmers, saying Bud Light didn't just attack their brands, but American farmers who grow the ingredients. Are you looking to grow your operation? Well, we talk property and land values at this year's National Farm Machinery Show. Next.
Ag Day, brought to you by ESN Smart Nitrogen, the smartest way to reduce nitrogen losses to wet soil, hot, dry conditions, or microbial attacks in standing water. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
A new KC Fed Ag Credit Survey says farmland values held steady in the fourth quarter last year. The report says in the Kansas City district, that includes much of the Southern Plains, the value of non-irrigated and irrigated cropland fell only 3% from last year. Now it says ranch land values increased 3% for the second quarter in a row. That's the first consecutive increase in rangeland values since 2015. Tyne Morgan joins us from this year's National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville. And Tyne, interest rates could have an impact on those land values this year.
In the Kansas City Fed Ag Survey just released this week, that was really the main point, looking at land values. And that 2018, land values were really resilient in that Western Corn Belt area, but some concern about interest rates and the impact it could have on land values heading into 2019. So joining me right now, I actually have an ag lender from the Illinois area, Alan Hoskins with American Farm Mortgage. Alan, looking back at 2018, land values, did they hold pretty steady in your footprint?
Yes, land values held very steady in our footprint last year.
Did that surprise you?
Not really, because there's still more demand than supply in land, and also we've seen long-term interest rates actually trend downward just a little bit. So it's still a great opportunity for people that are looking at land to be able to lock in some really good, attractive rates on a long-term basis.
So that's right now, but if we see those long-term rates kind of tick up a little bit, do you think that that could pressure land values in 2019?
If we see long-term rates trend up and it is coupled with more supply coming on the market, then yes, but as long as that supply and demand are balanced, it would seem that we're going to see the trend continue to be very consistent land values.
Now, I know American Farm Mortgage has a national footprint, so are you seeing any impact on land values in any certain state in particular?
If you look at land as a whole, I mean, certainly you can find pockets where it's down. You can also find pockets where it's up. But I would say as a whole, we're still seeing very consistent land values throughout our marketplace.
All right, Alan Hoskins, American Farm Mortgage, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
appreciate it. And yeah, land values, something we'll continue to keep an eye on 2019. Reporting from right here at the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky, I'm Tyne Morgan for Ag Day.
4 months after Hurricane Michael, cleanup in some cases is just beginning. How one cotton farmer is facing the challenge head on, next in the country.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
The National Cotton Council expects acreage to go up this year, but it expects fewer acres in the southeast, in Georgia and South Carolina, as producers try to recover from hurricanes. The Georgia Cotton Commission recently spoke with one farmer dealing with the effects of Hurricane Michael 4 months later.
Chad Mathis, we're outside of Arlington, Georgia, in the edge of Baker County, on my family's farm. This is my 21st crop. My dad's been farming since back in the 70s, early 70s, and my granddad was, back in the 50s, well before then. That was rough. That night, that evening was rough. Never seen anything like that. Lost a lot of cotton. I'm guessing somewhere around 65% of the crop. We've always grown cotton. Not my granddad, but my dad has always grown cotton. And it's just, it's not an easy crop to grow. I mean, you have to manage it, but it's a fun crop to grow. It's, you can plant a seed and down the road you got this white lint that, that comes from it to make clothes with. But I've just always enjoyed it. Plus, I mean, we grow peanuts, so, we have a rotation with the peanuts, and so with the corn and cotton, we rotate with the peanuts, and it just kind of works on our farm. Oh yeah, it will. It will. It'll be a crop that we'll continue to grow. We grow sustainable cotton. We can grow a good crop if we could just get a fair price, or if we could get a good price for the lint. It'll stay here on this farm. To the consumer, we're growing the best food and fiber they can consume and put on and wear. The consumer, sometimes I think they get lost in the shuffle. They don't really know what goes on out here on the farm. They just see it in the grocery store, which, that's where I get our groceries too, is the grocery store. But if they were ever to have a chance to, as they go traveling or something, drive through the country and see the farm side, see the crops growing, see, you know, what's going on. You know, I see people stopping by, you know, that live in bigger towns, and they'll stop and look and take pictures and pick flowers, and so it's a good place to be.
And that's all the time we have this morning. Sure glad you tuned in, spent part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.